Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Got a little bit of coffee in my system. You see, I'm about to bite into my banana here. Hadn't had a banana in a couple of days. I have my number one dad cup, my water. We're about to get started, y'all. And I just want to say thank you to all the people that came through and watched yesterday's video. Yes, I posted it on Facebook, and Facebook, like always, never lets me down. So I have a good bit of views. When I say a good bit, I mean 23 views on that video. But anyways, I'm going to pause it so I can finish my banana here. Lord, banana. Drink a little water, finish my coffee, and I'll be back in a second. Y'all hold tight. Okay, we are back live in effect. We're going to pick it up where we left off yesterday. As Henry continued laughing hysterically, joyful tears began running down his sun-baked face, a handsome face, As Henry continued laughing hysterically As Henry continued laughing hysterically, joyful tears began running down his sun-baked face, a handsome face, burnt bronze in color, a face that had seen so much in its 38 years. Soon, the tears were like rivers traveling down smooth hills, streams that found his thick beard like an African delta. He was a slender man, standing average height. His body, all 160 pounds, was that of a lumberjack, not a shred of fat, and with the back of a prize cotton picker, as well as a grip that could bring a bodybuilder to his knees. His natural strength had been galvanized by working out of state, climbing tree after tree for a living. But now he was there with his son, his only son, his focus at the moment, not the years lost or the time he'd never get back. Though fixated, his attention was being carried away by the powerful current of humor as his son continued with his antics. Out of breath, he gave a gasp before saying, "Boy, if there was any critters near this pond, there ain't none now. All that racket you making, I'll be surprised if the fish ain't packed up and leave. I gotta say leave, because in my mind I said leave about 1,000 times. So move is not working, so I'm gonna say leave. Leave flows more natural." Biting his bottom lip to keep from smiling, the amused father was doing his best to keep his composure as he looked down his 10-year-old son with what was meant to be a frown on his face. Excuse me. "Now, son," he said in a strong whisper, "you got to learn how to control that. You can't be out here in nature acting a fool." He turned, wiped his face before adjusting the .22 caliber rifle draped across his back. "You gotta start taking things a little more serious. What if there was a coon sleeping in the bushes? We could have shot it and take it home to eat." I gotta turn this fan on, y'all. It is hot up in here. This coffee got me. Okay, so I'm kind of rushing this morning, and I'm doing that because I gotta pick up some coffee from Starbucks. So I'm kind of rushing. So let me just slow down a little bit and focus a little bit more. Like I said, writers gotta have liquid. I don't know why. It's like our brain runs dry as we go over the story over and over. So I gotta keep sipping on something, as long as it's not liquor. All right, and excuse that noise. I had to turn the ceiling fan on. I I was gonna say something, but yeah, I'll say it. I feel like I'm having hot flashes or something. I'm joking, y'all. I'm joking. Pause. Okay, as the mood fell, Jacob mumbled to himself, "Mama ain't cooking no coon." "What was that?" his father asked. "Oh, nothing. I didn't say nothing," said the boy. All right, so I'm gonna pick it up from the green. I'm gonna actually move this at the end. It's time to move on. So I'll move this portion down to the red, and we'll get past this portion here today. All right, so as Henry continued laughing hysterically, joyful tears began running down his sun-baked face, a handsome face, burnt bronze in color, a face that had seen so much in its 38 years. Soon the tears were like rivers traveling down smooth hills, streams that found his thick beard like an African delta. He was a slender man, standing average height. His body, all 160 pounds, was that of a lumberjack, not a shred of fat, and with the back of a prized cotton picker, as well as a grip that could bring a bodybuilder to his knees, that could bring down a bodybuilder, that could bring down a bodybuilder. Y'all notice this part has changed so much, but I gotta go with what flows better in my mind. It may change, but until it changes, I gotta go with what flows better in my mind. That flows better. That could bring down a bodybuilder. Simple, right? And it's all about making it simple for the reader. I'm not trying to make it complex. I'm not a college. I'm not an English major or nothing like that. So I got to make it flow better for the writer. And with the back of a prized cotton picker, and some people might get offended by that, but I can't please everybody in that. I think that part there, the back of a prized cotton picker, you know what I mean? I'm black, so I can write that. Now, if it was a white person writing that, that may be racist, but I'm black. My mom picked cotton. My grandmother definitely picked cotton. My great-grandmother and grandfather picked cotton. You know what I mean? And I've heard stories about picking cotton and how horrible it is. My mom in particular, she doesn't like talking about stuff like that a lot, but she said when she was a little girl, she picked cotton one time, and the burrs on the thorns and the burrs, like her hands were bloody at the end of the day, and she only picked like 50 pounds worth of cotton. That's a little bit. Now, if you can imagine 50 pounds of cotton, little cotton balls, that's a lot of cotton. But some people was picking on in the hundreds. So imagine what the slave had to do. So I'm black. We're not worrying about that, okay? And with the back of a prized cotton picker, as well as a grip that could bring down a bodybuilder, his natural strength had been galvanized by working out of state, climbing tree after tree for a living. But now he was there with his boy, his only son, his focus at the moment, not the years lost, all the time he'd never get back. Though fixated, his attention was being carried away by the powerful current of humor as his son continued with his antics. Out of breath, he gave a gasp before saying, "Boy, if there was any critters near this pond, there ain't none now. All that racket you making, I'll be surprised if the fish ain't pack up and leave." Biting his bottom lip to keep from smiling, the amused father was doing his best to keep his composure. Biting his lip. See, I just noticed I got keep twice in the same sentence. Which, redundancy sometimes is allowable, but I just don't like being too redundant. Biting his lip to keep from smiling. Biting his lip to prevent smiling. To prevent. Biting his lip to prevent smiling, the amused father was doing his best to keep his composure as he looked down at his 10-year-old son with what was meant to be a frown on his face. "Now, son," he said in a strong whisper. You gotta learn how to control that. You can't be out here in nature acting a fool. He turned, wiped his face before adjusting the .22 caliber rifle draped across his back. You gotta start taking things a little more serious. What if there was a coon sleeping in the bushes? We could have shot it and take it home to eat. One day you'll be a man. Maybe then you'll see. As the mood fell, Jacob mumbled to himself, Mom ain't cooking no coon. What was that? His father asked. Oh, nothing. I didn't say nothing, said the boy, standing there looking over the rippling water as the smiling sun cascaded over little swells that resembled flashing mirrors. Henry's thoughts traveled back to a few days prior when him and his two friends, Shug and Lupe, had taken a trip to Shug's liquor still, which was hidden not far from the waterhole. Shug had concocted a new batch of moonshine. This time, he'd added a handful of raisins along with a few magic mushrooms found on a pile of old wood chips left by the mill. The mushrooms were spotted out and picked by Henry's Mexican buddy Lupe, a fellow lumberjack. Coming from a family in Veracruz, Mexico, where peyote and magic mushrooms were common use, consumed by spiritualists for ceremonial purposes, the man was shocked when the three of them were walking to the waterhole and he saw psilocybin carulicins. Now, y'all got to remember, I don't read out loud. I read in my mind. So in my mind, I just skip right across that. Now y'all forcing me to pronounce words and stuff. So every time I come across this word here, you might see me trip up, stumble, fall, crawl a little bit, get back up and brush myself off, attempt it again, fall again. So that's, I read in my, and now, so I say this again, reading out loud, knowing that I have people watching me, and I may post this video or the other video on Facebook too to see if I can get people to watch it. It puts pressure on me, and it's making, like, you put pressure on coal long enough, it turns into a diamond. So, and I'm not saying I'm a diamond or anything like that, but I need the pressure. I need the feedback. I need people to say this is garbage. You need to just throw this in the trash. Well, if you said that, I'm gonna keep writing on it because I know it's not. But I need critique. And some people are not watching these videos because they don't want to see this process. They want to see the final product. And I can't be mad at that either. But like when I come across words like this, I'm not used to reading out loud. Now, for future reference, when I do book shows, I did one book reading in all of 20 years. One. But I see a lot coming up in my future, And I was petrified reading in front of those kids. I wasn't really that scared, but it was like, man, it takes a lot to get up and read your story and, try not to mess up. Anyways, is this one sentence? Lord have mercy, I gotta be run on. Coming from a family in Veracruz, Mexico, where peyote and magic mushrooms were common use, consumed by spiritualists for ceremonial purposes, the man was shocked when the three of them were walking to the waterhole. When the three of them, were they walking to the waterhole or were they walking to, because Henry said they were walking to the still, right? You see what I mean? Shug had concocted a new batch of moonshine. This time, he'd added a handful of raisins along with a few magic mushrooms found on a pile. Okay, so, all right. Henry's thoughts traveled back to a few days prior when him and his two friends Henry's thoughts traveled back to a few days prior when him and his two friends, not friend, Shug and Lupe, had taken a trip to Shug's liquor still. Okay, so they're going to the liquor still, not the waterhole, which was hidden not far from the waterhole. Okay. Suge had concocted a new batch of moonshine. This time, he'd added a handful of raisins along with a few magic mushrooms found. All right, excuse me. All right, so if they're going to the liquor store, Suge doesn't know anything about the mushrooms yet. So this is what I'm talking about. This is why you got to go over a story so many times to get it right. Suge had concocted a new batch of moonshine. This time he'd added a handful of raisins. Okay, so all right, so now I got to go ahead. This is, if you're paying attention, you see my dilemma right here. As I transition to this what do you call it? When a story goes back to another part. I forget what they call it, but standing there looking over the rippling water as the smiling sun cascaded over little swells that resembled flashing mirrors, Henry's thoughts traveled back to a few days prior when him and his two friends, Suge and Lupe, had taken a trip to Suge's liquor store, which was hid not far from the waterhole. So they're going to the liquor store. They're not going to the waterhole. That's one. And he's having, this is a flashback. Yeah, that's what I mean. So Henry's having a flashback of them going to Suge's liquor store for obvious reasons. I don't know, maybe to have a sip, to take a look at it, to just chill. And it's not too far from the waterhole. So Suge had concocted a new batch of moonshine. I got to change this because if they're just going to visit the liquor store, okay, Suge had concocted a new batch of moonshine. This time he'd added a handful of raisins along with a few magic mushrooms found on a pile. So if they're going to the liquor store, they hadn't seen the mushrooms, anything yet. So that's my biggest dilemma. And I'll figure that out. So right now, this is going to be green. All right. So we're not going to, this is where I'm going to start. And this is going to be black. You see. And I have this 18 minutes now. And, I'm combing through this pretty good. But this is definitely a process. So I gotta fix this because this is a flashback. I also gotta remember my note. I got a note over here about hint at the spirit thing on the water somewhere in here. Also have Jacob hint about the need of a dog. So I gotta remember that. But I feel good. I really feel good about what. Oh man, and I'm exercising certain muscles in my brain, certain writing muscles that I hadn't exercised in a while, and that's just paying attention to what I'm reading and what I'm seeing. So there's a conflict here in this paragraph. I got to fix that. All right, and that conflict is according to this paragraph right here. Standing there looking at the rippling water as the smiling sun cascaded over little swells that resembled flashing mirrors, Henry's thoughts traveled back to a few days prior when him and his two friends, Suge and Lupe, had taken a trip to Suge's liquor store, which was hidden not far from the waterhole. Suge had concocted a new batch of moonshine. Okay, that's fine. This time, he added raisins. This time he'd added a handful of raisins. All right, so I'm gonna put a period here, and I'm going to cut this because I don't want to lose that. I'm going to cut it. Sugar had concocted a new batch of moonshine. This time he'd added a handful of raisins. The okay. All right, so let me back up. Where's my little, here. All right. All right, so now I got raisins. All right. The mushrooms were spotted out and picked by Henry's Mexican buddy, and coming from Veracruz, peyote, spiritualist. The man was shocked. All right. All right, so I'm gonna cut all this. I'm gonna cut all that whole thing. Sugar concocted a new batch of moonshine. This time he'd added a handful of raisins. Okay. Oh, Hank, look at this. Okay. All right, so as the men were walking, what's his name? Lupe noticed something. Oh, Hank, look at this, he said, pointing to the mound, pointing to a mound of wood chips. You see how I'm making it? It's a flashback, so you got to make things happen in a certain way. Devil's bread, Suge mumbled at the sight. What? Henry asked. They're mushrooms. Psychedelic mushrooms, the man added in an accent. Suge's attention peaked after hearing Lupe's claim. So? Henry replied. Hold on, just wait one doggone minute. Don't be so quick to judge, Suge interjected. Just how psychedelic we talking? Just how psychedelic we talking? Just how psychedelic we talking? He asked Lupe. Listening to Lupe explain the effects of the drug. Okay, so see, this is where I got to keep pushing. I can't stop right here, and thank God for my job, because when I get to this point, if I worked a regular 9 to 5 where I had to be in a certain time, I would, when I was writing mech, when I was writing mech, I would go into work late all the time because I would just go past the time that I needed to leave to go to work. And today is one of those days. I'm sorry, y'all. Listening to Lupe explain the effects of the drug, Suge had an idea. Using Lupe's expertise, Suge picked a handful and placed them in a pouch. The man had given his son a few gallons of corn liquor on one of his visits down from New Jersey, like he'd done so many times before. He saw it as an opportunity. All right, so what I'm going to do, because I do have to go, I'm going to paste that part that I cut earlier, and I'm going to make this purpose. Yeah, this is it. I'm gonna make this blue, so I'll know. So I'll know that I have to fit this in here somewhere, but I gotta get out of here. All right, and I'll leave that there. Let's go back up to the green. So tomorrow is gonna be one of those crazy. No, I won't say that. It may just I just deleted something. What did I? All right, I'm gonna leave it right here, y'all. Y'all be easy. Henry's thoughts. What's going on with this word? That's how you spell thoughts. Y'all be easy. Hit that like, subscribe, share, comment, leave a comment. Till next time, this is Anthony L. Kelly. Salute to all y'all. And yeah, I do have on my American flag shirt again, honoring the troops. Shout out to BAE Systems. I'm out. Oh, wait a minute. Let me stop it first.